Hello to all the comic fans, Marvel geeks, and all the nerds in between. Welcome to another episode of the Vigilante Vibes podcast, where we talk all things Marvel, along with other fandoms, but without the toxicity that's taken up way too much space in each and every fandom. I'm your host, Megan Nicole, and today I have two very special guests with me. You've probably heard of their excellent podcast, Escape the Mojoverse. If you haven't, what are you waiting for? As soon as this episode's over, you have to go look them up because you won't be disappointed, so you can thank me later. They're fantastic. Please welcome Matt and Allison.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm so excited you guys are on. I've been such a big fan of yours for so long.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, we're so excited. We're big fans of yours as well.
Well, great. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you guys?
We're both teachers, and outside of that, the Allison and I've known each other for a long time, and I got back into comics in like 2021, right around the middle of the first wave of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And I really struggled to get my partner into comics. It's really hard to you want to share things, especially when you're so cooped up with each other. And eventually, I think during the fall of X, it sort of hit a breaking point where we were like, I'm going to tell you the things that I have. My brain's going to make me tell you something. It would probably be better if we just record these conversations and maybe we try it. It was the I think the cute part of this story that we've never told is that it's the lead up to our wedding that we decided to do the podcast. It's the month before the wedding. We were like, what if we, in August, so we got married in May, but we were like, okay, in August we'll launch.
We got married in June.
The beginning of June. No, we did. It's the beginning of June, and that's similar. Okay, I know the date. I'm sorry. Getting myself in trouble. But we were like, we're gonna launch this thing, and we're gonna do it about the X-Men, because that was sort of what I was the most focused on. I think I thank God every day that I hadn't gotten the obsession I now have with Rom V's Carnage series, or we would have a much different, worse podcast. I love Carnage, but I don't think people want to listen to me talk about it that long. But then I just drug Allison into it, and I think over the last 8 months, you've sort of I think this is the time where maybe you take over the narrative of this.
Yes, I'll catch the ball you're passing to me. I wasn't really into comics growing up. I was much more of a book girly, much more into novels. I think the very first comic book I ever got was a free comic book, a Powerpuff Girls comic book that I think was being distributed by Burger King. And I really liked it. I read it a bunch. But I didn't really think about, I saw the X-Men movies, but I never really read the comics. And then Matt just kept going on and on about all of the Krakoa stuff. And I was like, I don't know what any of this means. I have no background. I have no visual. I'm just listening. And then I was like, you know what? Yeah, maybe we should make this a thing. And I feel like just since August, I feel like I am much more enriched in the comic sphere. However, every day I realize that there is more and more X-Men I do not know. Every time I think I know something, there's 10 more things that I'm I discover that is something I need to explore. So I've really enjoyed it. This little adventure that we've been doing together, and I'm having a lot of fun.
So Matt was into the comics first, and you jumped into X-Men comics, of all comics. It is so complicated. Where did you start at?
So we started reading Modern Times from the Ashes when that started. So I completely skipped Krakoa and just starting with this new one. So I have a much nicer opinion of it than a lot of people do. But with that, and then we were sprinkling in the foundation, the basics, the X-Men 101. So I've read the Phoenix Saga, the Dark Phoenix Saga, and I've read other things that are important.
New X-Men.
New X-Men, Astonishing X-Men, and then in January we did a marathon where we read all of New Mutants, which I really enjoyed. I really liked New Mutants. And it has definitely more of a, if you're only used to the movies, what you think the X-Men are going to be. So I really enjoyed the New Mutants. And I didn't call them the New X-Men. They are the New Mutants. I keep switching the names. So it's kind of been just going back and forth between reading what's coming out this month, but also going and getting my prerequisites of sorts so I can understand stuff a little bit more. Like we read the Magic miniseries, so when the Magic solo came out, I knew what they were talking about. So I've really enjoyed it. I like being able to go back and forth. It's not just I'm not sitting down and starting with X-Men #1. Let's go and do that, because that's going to take forever and it's going to be boring. I'm just kind of jumping around and being led by Matt, who knows much more about it than I do.
I'd say that's fair. Matt, how does it feel that now that she's finally into it?
Good. Honestly, I'm really impressed with with Allison's how far she's come. Really, like it's really interesting to think like this time last year, Allison had never picked up an X-Men comic at all, and then a week or two ago, Allison did a solo interview with Erica Schultz about the Laura Kinney book, and totally fielded questions and understood like what was going on, and was able to like kind of banter in a way that I don't think that they would have been able to do until pretty recently, right? Like it's been really. I always say this about Allison, and I try not to. I'm not going to come onto your podcast and just like gas my spouse up, but
you should. Look, you forgot what day you were married, so you might as well want to do that.
I did. You know what? Actually, you're right. That's very
What's the
true.
number? What's the number, Matt?
It's 6/7, so it's June 7th.
Yeah.
I know the 6/7. I just didn't. I was in my head. May was the 6th month. That was really what I was doing. No. The Allison has such a high learning curve. Like you will start as a beginner, very like in a lot of things, but like anybody will. But your learning, you get so good at things so quickly.
Thank you. It's the autism.
Yeah, a little bit. But no, I'm really impressed that she's been able to handle as much as she has. We do 2 episodes a week. Like but half of them are the X-Men. So on Mondays we talk about the X-Men, and on Fridays we talk about kind of whatever we want. That kind of gives us some leeway to talk about other comics. I think like
a thing I really enjoyed was I brought to Matt a webcomic that I had read that I actually, this artist, they have a very Finnish name, Otava
Heikkilä.
That's what. Okay. And he started making a webcomic that was updating, not even like regularly, just whenever he could put it out, when I was in high school. And I would go back I had bookmarked the website and I would just go back to it all the time. It was called Judecca. He never finished that one, but because he stopped it in like 2016, but he's made other complete like small comics since then. And so we got to have an episode where I showed Matt those comics, and I got to explain like why they're special to me, because like this was something I kind of grew up with, and I got to see the artist grow as I was kind of growing as well, and I just really enjoyed that. So we got to do some of that. We get to read some Deadpool. We get to kind of do whatever, and I like the freedom, but I also like coming back to the home base of X-Men too.
I feel that. I have some where I'm like, okay, I want to only talk about this in this series, but then I have other episodes where I come back and just talk about other things I like. It's nice that there is some control to the chaos, and comics are chaotic. Like X-Men comics, that's a lot to dive into. Even with the new stuff, that is a lot. So that's very commendable.
It is like your question earlier is very true, right? The X-Men is like, if you were going to really try and get someone into comics, you usually start with like a solo series, like a Batman or a Superman or Spider-Man. Like it's pretty easy to pick up for a non-comics reader any of those books, because you're only considering the world of that one character. We just did Scarlet Witch, and it was so much simpler. A great series. Steve Orlando's Scarlet Witch, everybody should be reading, and I'm so excited for this new mini. But if we'd started with Scarlet Witch instead of starting with, okay, you're not going to understand everything, it's going to take some time to totally get everything that's happening, then I don't think we could have gotten you into the X-Men at all, really. Like, I think you kind of have to dive in head first.
You kind of have to challenge yourself.
A little bit.
And you definitely have to make sure you actually like it, because if you're forcing yourself to get into it and doing all the background and trying to figure out, you're just going to hate it. It's just a chore. So it's hard to find one you gravitate to.
Comics know if you're pure of heart. If you're reading them with good intentions. I also like that Matt is pretty good at being like, hey, I think you'll like this one, so we'll focus on that. Just speaking of getting married again, when we got married, we gave everyone in our like wedding party, Matt picked out a comic, like an omnibus or a trade specifically for that person, that he thought they would like, and I slowly, Matt's trying to get everyone else in our friend circle into comics. It's not going as well as me because, again, I'm in the same house. I'm trapped. No, but I'm doing this all of my free will.
Blink twice.
I'm good. But trying to get other people into it, and people really like the gifts, and our friends have read them. And, like, they've asked for other suggestions. Matt's given comic books to people at work to borrow and read. Like, Matt's trying to get the word out. What?
That is true. I'd never done that before. But after we did that, it was like, I have this, like, you have, like, work friends, and it's like, you know, are we really friends? Like, do we have anything in common other than the fact that we kind of struggle through labor together? But especially in a school building, right? Like, you have so much to say. It's like, oh, well, God, this kid, right? Like, this is the person that's driving me insane, right? Or the admin or whatever. And you don't really know if you're friends with someone. And I think sharing, like, media with them, sharing, like, hey, this is a story that really means a lot to me. Do you want to check it out? Is so rewarding when it works. It can really hurt you when it doesn't work. It can really, like, you try not to, like, put your heart on it too much. You're like, and if you don't like it, you don't like it. But if they love it, it really feels like amazing. And I think that has been the most rewarding thing about Escape the Mojoverse, is that for the most part, there really hasn't been anything that you didn't have some appreciation for.
I mean, because everything that goes into making a comic is work. Like, there's art that I could never do. There's writing and plotline threading that I could never do. So there's stuff and there's editing, there's the printing of it. Like, there's so many hands that go into it that, like, even if I don't like the comic, there's something good about it. There's something worth praising, which I don't think is true for every art form. I think that, like, if someone writes a bad article and you read it and you don't like it, it's kind of like, well, that's it. I don't have anything else to say about it. But a comic book has so many different things going on. Like, what came before it? What does it have to connect to? Is this part of a bigger thing? Is this the history of, what is this author's other work? Does it relate to that? There's so much to go into it. It's basically just like being in an English class all the time, and I really like it.
I will say there's been a comic or two. I was like, there is absolutely not a single thing I liked about that stupid thing.
Oh, I have one. I have one that I've read so far that I didn't like anything about.
What is it?
And it was If Donald Duck Was Wolverine, which I know is for children. I know it's for children.
But, like, still.
But it was
It's so funny. It's like the 6th or 7th episode we ever did, and Allison goes so hard negative about it, and it's of course, like, it's not for you is like the thing. It's not for us, but
I just don't see any child enjoying it.
I think, honestly, now if you went back to it, knowing some of those stories, like, you know, Dark Phoenix and you know some of the Wolverine stories, I think you might at least go, I see what they're doing there. Because if you don't have the background and it's just making allusions to stories you don't know.
There's two things I don't like. It's Donald Duck if he was Wolverine, and those stupid M&M ads on the back of all the comics.
God, you really hate
I
those.
think they're getting better, but I think they're really boring visually, and I think their marketing department can do a lot better.
In your defense, every single X-Men comic in the month of March had that
Had
ad
the
on it.
same boring thing on the back of it. It was,
Yeah,
it made me
it's just the red M&M walking towards you, and then in the background the silhouette of him like he's at a Sears catalog. It's actually
Flames on my
Bruce
face.
Banner walking away sad is what he's doing, but yeah.
Those are the and I guess I didn't love the Fallen Angels miniseries of New Mutants. That was a rough spot. But the actual comics, I'm like, there's something here. There's something there. There's always something to be appreciated.
I read a comic one time, and I cannot remember the name of it, but it was so stupid. It was about a pop star who was also part demon, but like she didn't know she was part demon. And it was just, it tried so hard to be modern. It tried so hard. It was like, slay queen, slay demon. And it was like, I hope this thing burns, like, just sets on fire in my hands. Like,
It's like, it's like, it's like a 40-year-old white man who wrote it. And it's like,
Yes.
slay queen.
Yes, and it's like, I know it hurt your soul to write it. How do you think I felt reading it? I'm offended. What about you, Matt? What's some comics you hate?
Yeah, is there something that really grinds your gears?
Okay, so I have maybe a different relationship with comics that I hate. Allison talked about having autism. I have obsessive compulsive disorder. Like, legitimately, I'm diagnosed and have been living with it for a very long time. I hated a comic when I was a kid that I am obsessed with. Like, to say that I hate it is actually probably incorrect. I am fascinated with it. It's Weapon X by Frank Thierry. It is a grim, grimy, misogynistic, really brutal comic about a concentration camp where for mutants, that is like the main character of which is the human guy who runs the concentration camp. It has so many like really problematic and awful things that happen in it. It's not a good experience, but I'm so fascinated by it because its existence, I think, is really interesting, right? Like, it was right around the time that the Comics Code had ended, and the idea that like the Comics Code had been censoring comics, self-censoring, but censoring comics for 40 or 50 years, and all of a sudden they had the freedom to do anything. And so they're pushing against it. And it's a story about people in prison fighting against being in prison. So it's oddly, by being a bad time, it is form meeting the art, right? It is a bad time because the characters are kind of having a bad time. Frank Thierry, I think, is a really brilliant writer, and he can write a good book about bad people. He's currently writing Sabretooth. I always call it Sabretooth Dead and Loving It. It's called Sabretooth The Dead Don't Talk.
The Dead don't talk, but it is just known as Sabretooth Dead and Loving It in our
I'm
household.
never gonna think of it another name ever.
I'm gonna, if I go to Dallas Fan Con, I'm going to tell Frank Thierry that I call it that.
Yes, please do.
But the book is not great, but there are moments in it that work against all odds that I can't totally hate it. So I struggle with this with all art. When I see something that is totally broken, I kind of like bad movies. I kind of like bad like art because I can see the pieces of it, right? And so I think like the last time I had a really bad time reading a comic was probably AVX. Really, and that is more of me, the fandom version, like less the like artistic, like I want to talk about what it means, and more the like, why are you playing with my toys wrong kind of guy, right? Like, and AVX feels like that a lot to me as somebody who, not honestly, the X-Men are not really poorly characterized. It's Captain America who's really poorly characterized, just walking onto Genosha and beating up like poor brown kids, really, and it's just not a good look for a character who, like, I think can become a really, like, nasty character in the wrong hands, right? Captain America is already this loaded thing, right? Like, America is not a neutral idea, but Captain America is supposed to represent the best of what we could possibly be, and the second that you let him represent more what America really is, he becomes nasty.
Yeah. He becomes very much U.S. agent. You can see a lot of parallels there.
Definitely.
Yeah. speaking of U.S. Agent, he's about to be in Thunderbolts. Do you watch the X-Men movies? Do you dabble in the current MCU very often?
We've seen every
were,
MCU film, certainly.
Yeah, we've been completely up to date. I feel like we missed one.
You didn't see the Eternals. I watched
I didn't
it
see
later.
the Eternals.
It was during the pandemic that came out too.
Yeah.
And so,
I feel like there was something after Quantum Mania that we missed.
Oh, you also did not see Thor 4. I saw Thor 4.
Thor 4 Thors.
Yes,
Yeah,
which is
you
what
don't
that
need to
movie
see
should
it.
have been.
Just don't
Sorry,
get
we
it.
make dumb names for every movie. I'm just now realizing. We don't call any movie by its actual name. We just have a little silly name that we call it. And it's just a language we speak.
That's cute, though.
Yeah. We're excited for Thunderbolts, though. I am. Are you, Ani?
No, I am. I am too. I am too. I think I'm a little bit more excited for Fantastic Four, but maybe that's just because I just watched the trailer.
We did just watch the trailer.
Whew, that trailer.
And I've read some Fantastic Four comics, and I really like it. Honestly, so the quickest way to get me to read a book is to put a romance in it, especially if it's a romance with like an ugly guy. That sounds weird. Like Ben Grimm and Alicia Master. Yeah, like Ben Grimm and Alicia Masters. Love that.
Or like a Beauty and the Beast kind of story.
I love a Beauty and the Beast kind of story. So Ben Grimm, always at Beta Ray Bill, Reddit. Like if you show me anything like that, I'm gonna instantly want to read it. So I've literally there is a really, for what I know of it, bad miniseries of Dazzler and Beast called Beauty and the Beast, and I want to read it so bad, but Matt keeps saying it's so bad, you don't want to read it. I want to read it.
It's Dazzler and who? It's Beast?
Yeah.
Beast, Hank McCoy.
I need to read that.
You might, honestly.
Is it that bad? Like, honestly.
It's only 4 comics. Like, it's not long. You could
the
read
usual
it pretty quickly.
Dazzler way. Only a few comics for her.
Exactly. It was during or is either during or right after her solo run, her original solo run, which is I love the Dazzler original solo run. Actually, we have the Omni. It's this
Can
beautiful...
you go get the Omni just to do a visual bit for me?
Yeah, I'll get it. But
I know this is an audio podcast.
I'll do it, but then when you talk, I'll get it when you talk. Let me finish what I was just saying.
Gotcha.
The Beauty and the Beast is Beast and Dazzler trying to become famous in Hollywood, and then they get sucked into a fighting ring that is sort of run by Dr. Doom, maybe? It is the dumbest book I've ever read. I wouldn't say it's bad so much as it is, like, inessential and kind of dumb.
It sounds
inessential and kind of dumb.
Sounds kind of
I thought I was going to make a joke, but it just didn't quite get there for me.
I feel that. Sometimes it just doesn't land in your head, and it's like, it doesn't work. It just
And that's why I appreciate comics writers, because they can always complete the thought.
Yeah, I could never.
Look at this giant Dazzler omnibus.
Oh my gosh.
It is the biggest book in our whole house. And if where there's ever an intruder, we will definitely use it as
there are 2 things Matt has said that they will use to hurt an intruder, which has never happened and never will. It's that Dazzler omnibus and my mechanical keyboard, which is surprisingly heavy.
One time for an intruder, I used a juicer.
Oh, really?
I broke it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was my boyfriend at the time. It was his cousin, and I didn't know it was his cousin who lived with us.
Oh my gosh.
So he intruded.
He did.
He did.
It's your house.
It was at my house, and he had just moved in, so I didn't know he was coming in and out all times of the night. I had no idea. I thought he was a normal dude, and I picked up the juicer and threw it at him because I saw only the back of him, and he stayed in at night for the remainder of his time. And I lost a juicer.
Yeah, you hit him with a juicer, so he was like, I guess I have a curfew.
He was like,
You could say that really put him in a squeeze.
there it is. That landed.
That wasn't that good.
That was good. That was. Oh, give yourself some credit. It was great.
Okay, I will.
So speaking of Dazzler, what did you guys think of Jason Lowe's Dazzler run?
I thought it was really fun. I think it has a very distinct mood separate from the rest of the X-Men comics. It's very like Saturday morning fun, and like not too, it doesn't get too down. It has a very light kind of atmosphere, and I really like that.
Yeah, Jason Lowe gets what is interesting about Allie, which is that she, unlike a lot of the X-Men, wants to be famous. Like, there is this, like, that's a unique desire for an X-Men character, and that she likes being famous. She likes being a superstar. And I loved the tone of that book. I loved the art of the art of that book is really great.
It was so whimsical and pretty.
There is one joke in that book that is so funny. We've talked about this on our podcast. In the very first issue, there's these protesters who are outside the Dazzler concert, and there's a guy who has a sign that says, "God hates Dazzler." And the funny thing about that is, Dazzler dated the Beyonder. So that guy's not totally wrong that God hates Dazzler. He means it differently. Like, he means it bad. And it's a reference to really reprehensible real world politics, obviously. But it is funny that, like, I mean, you're not totally wrong. A God hates Dazzler for sure.
Hey, I got a question. Is there anyone that Dazzler hasn't dated?
Iceman?
She gets a, yeah, probably Iceman. Iceman got around, though. Before he was out, he dated a lot of women, because, as a lot of hot closeted men will do, right? Yeah. No, they definitely didn't. Dazzler and Ice. You know, honestly, Allie, the thing that's preventing Allie from dating people is that she was out of publication for a long time.
100%.
Yes.
She would be such a big hoe bag if we got more of her, and
Yes.
I'm here for it.
And I hope we get more of her. I love.
Well, in the mini, she had like a little thing with Domino that I was very interested into seeing further on.
I kind of felt like that was the direction that was going, because there's this whole fight where, like, she's teaching her how to like kickbox, and they do like this like submission hold, and yeah, she has a boyfriend that's off panel, but then when we come back in Concert of Champions, she's broken up with that boyfriend, and she's still kind of talking about that Domino, and so. I think if they would let Jason Lowe canonically make Allie bisexual or pansexual, I think that they probably would have kissed on panel. But that's such a, like, you have to really, like, make the decision what the character is going to be sometimes.
I could see it, though, with Allison. Like, she's that kind of woman. Like, I don't care. This is what I want. Everyone already hates me for being mutant. Why not come out? Because let's be honest, a lot of her lyrics were 100% coming out lyrics.
Oh yeah,
Definitely.
Oh yeah.
It's like "Out and Proud" is like the title of the main song on the album. Yeah, that was, if there was one thing it's not a disappointment of the artist or the writer. It was that, like, it felt like the book wanted to say something about that, and it never really got to it. And then when Concert of Champions came out this month, I was like, oh, okay, maybe this will be the book. And it still kind of doesn't. Jason Lowe is writing a story for the Hellfire Vigil, which does make me hopeful that maybe, like, that's a moment, right? I imagine a lot of big reveals will happen in that book. So if we were gonna do Allie and Domino, two characters I love and would be happy to see together, maybe this is the moment for it. You know?
Yeah, plus he has all those other writers joining him, so I feel like that would be the moment to do it, because
Definitely.
With every other writer, it kind of shows like they're like, we support this. We're all on board with him. I think that would be the time to do it.
Definitely. I think we will get a couple of romances. Are you excited for the Hellfire Vigil?
Yes. I'm so happy. I love the lineup. I love all that's involved. I love that it's Luciano Vecchio is the artist, of the cover artist. He is so talented. I've interviewed him before. He is the sweetest man of all time, who said he's always loved X-Men because he can connect with them because he's gay.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I've been obsessed with all of his work. He's amazing, and I want to adopt him, but I don't think it's going to work. That's
probably not. He probably won't let you adopt him, but he is. You're absolutely right. It's such an incredible X-Men artist. When he did so I was not super familiar with his work until he did Resurrection of Magneto. And Resurrection of Magneto is such a beautiful looking book. Al Ewing's great, but the art in that book is the star. And then Luciano Vecchio got to do the end, basically, of Fall of X. That beautiful shot of the Phoenix, like uppercutting Enigma. God, the end of Fall of X is a lot of like what is happening, but the art is incredible.
Yeah, that's something I'll never take away from it. The Fall of X was very, if you're not familiar with the comics, it's very, very confusing. You don't know where to go, and you're like, okay, so I just read the next one in the series. You're like, no, you read the next one in this series, and then this one. And when you come back to it, you'll be 10 stories ahead. And it's so hard. They did so much.
To say nothing of the fact that Wolverine was taking place like months before it. Even though it was coming out at the same time, it was telling a story of right before all of that happens. And you're saying you're supposed to read Fall of the House of X and then Rise of the Powers of X, but the thing is, only near the end, really, are you supposed to do that. So it's like, at first, you're supposed to read Fall of the House of X, Fall of the House of X, Fall of the House of X. Then, in the middle, you switch to going back and forth. And that is untenable. Like, I like some of the story that's told there. I think the artists and writers are really good. But the reason that Rise of, what's this era called? From the Ashes was important was that there was bloat. Like, they had come to a point where they needed sort of a reset.
Yeah. Which I think a lot of comics should look into doing, because you do come to a point where you've done everything that you can do with a character. Also, with multiple characters' lives, like Krakoa, we did so much with Krakoa. It makes sense why they reboot it. And with how many comics there are for X-Men, no one can jump in. Just ask Allison. So the reboot was for...
It's difficult.
Yeah, the reboot was for people like Allison, who wanted to jump in, who wants to know these characters, but doesn't want to wait. Well, let's read 50 years plus of work.
I think it's actually a really good time to start reading the X-Men, because all of the characters are kind of starting in the same place. They're all starting with, we had a paradise and we've lost it, and how are we moving on from there? As opposed to, like, tuning in, this person is a robot cyborg from the future and the past, and it's like, wait, what?
That's very, very true. Plus, they've already given us so much from the Ashes, so much so that they're kind of cutting the fat and getting rid of, they're ending NYX, X Factor, X Force. Do you have any ideas what you'd like to see in their place?
Well, we talked about this with you on our show. I loved X-Force, but so I would love to see something by Jeffrey Thorne. I think Jeffrey Thorne is a really thoughtful writer. Mm-hmm. I want to see where Betsy and Rachel go. Like, I want to see.
I was going to say Betsy and Rachel. I want to see Betsy and Rachel.
Yeah, I want to see where Sage goes. I wish I cared who Tank was. I can admit that the getting it cut off at 10 really makes that mystery sort of like go, well, I guess, whatever. But with X Factor, I think honestly letting Jason Lowe do a book would be a really good replacement, because Mark Russell is brilliantly funny, and the things that work about X Factor are the fact that it tries to be a humorous book, that it is cutting and political. And Jason Lowe has a really sweet heart and is very fun. Can't help but be funny. Like, even his Werewolf by Night, which is a Red Band book, is pretty funny. Like, he really cannot help himself. So I think a humor book that he's in charge of would be cool. I would love to see Alex Packnadel get maybe an ongoing. I liked Sentinels a lot.
I did too.
Yeah, we really loved Sentinels, especially.
It was so underrated.
Yeah, I think it's hard to get X-Men fans on board for the pitch for that book, but if you read any of it, you're like, it's not a pro Sentinel book. Like that book is very, it's like RoboCop is not pro Robot Cop, right?
Yeah. It was very grounded for an X-Men centered book. And I feel like people are like, why do I want to read this about a Sentinel? It's like, you just don't open your eyes. And then
I think that.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No.
I think there was a similar thing, not to bring it back to the Hunger Games, because I always bring it back to the Hunger Games or Star Trek. But when they first announced Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, a lot of people were like, I don't want to read from President Snow's point of view. Like, why would I don't want to read from a bad guy's point of view. But, unlike the Sentinels, which are rather sympathetic characters, when you read Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, you just, like, watch him be a psychopath, and you're like, oh my God. And so I think that just because it's from the point of view of a character we're not supposed to agree with doesn't mean it does not have artistic merit. I think there's a lot of stories that tell a story where characters act in ways that you don't agree with, and it's okay to look at it from their point of view. It doesn't make you bad. It doesn't make the writer bad. It's just exploring a concept, and I think those tend to be very, very interesting stories.
I agree with that. I feel like you need more than one perspective to get the full story.
Definitely. And villain books have worked forever. They've always had villain books. That's not really like a more modern idea. One of the best Marvel books, I think, publishing is Carnage. I said this earlier, and now I actually am going to make this a Carnage moment on your podcast. Sorry, man.
I love Carnage. I'm here for it.
I think that the Carnage book that is publishing and the book that's been coming out since like Absolute Carnage, then Ram V's run, and then Tarun Grobbeck, and right now it's Eddie Brock Carnage, right? All of those, they have that's Charles Soule, and Tarun Grobbeck and Ram V and Alex Packnadel and Cody Ziglar. These are 5 of the best modern comics writers working today. They write incredible books, and Carnage works because it's a horror book. It's a book not about carnage. It's about how do you fight carnage? Like, how do you get away from this eldritch force of hate? And the Eddie Brock Carnage book right now is so good because Eddie's just so screwed. You know from the moment.
He always is.
And he always is. Eddie's a great. Yeah. I don't always love Eddie Brock the character, but I do like when his back's up against the wall. When he's happy, he's kind of a miserable character to be around. But when he's miserable, oh God, I like Eddie Brock, but he's miserable because I can relate to being feeling stuck and being like, what are my options? And they're all bad. And the Eddie Brock Carnage book right now, ooh, that's a beautiful looking book. There's these moments where we go into pitch black and it's in Eddie's mind, and Carnage looks like the devil. He's wearing a fedora and a suit, and it's such a funny gag from the guy who wrote Curse Words and 8 Billion Genies. These books that are hilarious and mean, and that's exactly what Carnage should be, right? A funny, like Freddy Krueger, right? It's like that, where they become this sort of gonzo comedy horror, because laughing and being afraid are closer than I think we ever know. So yeah, but that doesn't mean I like Carnage, the character. It doesn't mean I think that what he does is good. It means that the book is good.
Well, it's like we all look at Doom and we're like, he's badass, but we're not saying he does do bad things, but he's still cool. Comics, I feel like if you're only rooting for the heroes, if you only want to read their stories, then you're only getting half of the comic, because Magneto is a great example. Sometimes he's a good guy, sometimes he's not, but you take him for everything he is.
Yeah, he's always coherent.
And I think that's...
Go ahead.
I think because that's at the basis of telling stories is... Stories are, we want to explore something that maybe we didn't necessarily experience in our life, or we want to walk through these emotions in a safe place. Mm-hmm. And so that's what stories are. We can read about something really traumatic or something like a terrible murder or this terrible thing happening to someone, because it's a safe space to experience that, because no one's getting hurt because it's a comic book or it's a novel. It's a safe place to explore those emotions where we can explore our fears and we can also laugh at them.
Mark Russell came on our show and said a really interesting thing about his book, and specifically about the bad guys in X Factor. And he was like, you don't have to like every character you write, but you have to care for them. You have to like, and he says, every character I write is a part of me, and it's a part of me that deserves to say its piece. So it's a part of, it's like this thought, this idea, and by giving it weight, by like giving, like, okay, let's go through the thought process of this bad person, of this like buffoonish like capitalist who's running X Factor. And by doing it, it becomes this kind of real, like very like prescient, like, oh, these are the actual people who are really running the real world right now, in a way that is funny and makes you upset and feels real. And then by doing that, you understand Havoc. You understand the characters who are up against this person, and especially because they have to just deal with him. It's not like they can punch this guy, right? They have to just like put up with him. I think that thought process is so on the page at all times with his books.
That's really interesting. I love how he said that. It's like, I've never heard it that way, but it makes total sense. So
He's a very eloquent man.
We thought we were going to interview him for like an hour. We did it in 30 minutes, and he answered every single question as eloquently as possible. It's one of the shortest episodes of Escape the Mojoverse.
Oh, I had a few like that. Erica Schultz was like that. Stephanie Phillips was like that. They gave you every single answer you could want.
Oh, yeah.
But they had the answer at the ready. And I was like, oh, I respect it. Very nice.
Totally.
So as we get to the end of our episode, thank you guys so much for being on, by the way. I have loved this conversation.
Yeah, this was so fun.
Yeah. So why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Well, you can, Matt should do this.
Every time Allison, still on the podcast, says the wrong thing. It's okay, though. We are Escape the Mojoverse on Instagram and Mojoverse Pod on Blue Sky. We do not do Twitter anymore other than to, like, post the episode, but I'm not going to interact with you on Twitter. So if you want to talk to me, you want to talk to Allison, we are on Blue Sky and we're on Instagram. I'm Matt Parent on Blue Sky, and she's Allison Parent on Blue Sky as well. Yeah. Don't look for us on Instagram because we are teachers and we have private Instagrams, because children will, especially middle school children, are going to look for you. Yeah.
Well, great. And whoever is listening to this episode, you can look in the show notes right below the episode to find the links to their public pages so you are able to follow them. So thank you for listening to this episode of Vigilante Vibes. Wherever you're listening, click that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my amazing guests like Matt or my other amazing guests like Allison. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a marvelous night.